know we believe, moments away from hearing President Biden. He is going to stand at that podium, and we believe this is in Delaware, so they can confirm for me. But he will address the nation about these events tonight in Florida, the shooting that wounded former President Trump, who is said to be okay. It killed a spectator, wounded another who's in critical condition. The shooter has not been identified. We know nothing about that person's background or what might have motivated him. The shooter is said to be deceased as well. This story has been rolling out, and here is the president.
Thoroughly briefed by all the agencies in the federal government as to the situation, based on what we know now. I have tried to get a hold of Donald. He's with his doctors. Apparently he's doing well. I plan on talking to them shortly. I hope when I get back to the telephone. Look, there's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick. It's one of the reasons why we have to unite this country. We cannot allow for this to be happening. We cannot be like this. We cannot condone this. And so I want to thank the Secret Service and all the agencies, including the state agencies, that are engaged in making sure that the people who, and we have more detail to come relative to the other people maybe injured in the audience. I don't have all that detail. We'll make that available to you. I may be able to come back a little later tonight. We'll put out a statement if we don't, if I'm not able to go for it, if it's not convenient for you all. But the bottom line is that the Trump rally was a rally that he should have been able to be conducted peacefully without any problem. But the idea that there's political violence or violence in America like this is just unheard of. It's just not appropriate. Everybody must condemn it. Everybody. I'll keep you informed, and if I'm able to speak to Donald, I'll let you know that as well. But so far, it appears he's doing well, number one. Number two, that they're thoroughly investigating what happened to anyone else in the audience. We have some reports, but not final reports. And every agency in the federal government, and I'm going back to my phone to speak with the federal agencies that are being put together again to give me an updated briefing as anything happened. They learned more in the last couple hours. So thank you very much, and I hope I get to speak to them tonight, and I'll get back to you if I do, okay?
President, do you think it was an assassination attempt?
I don't know enough to, I have an opinion, but I don't have any facts. So I want to make sure we have all the facts before I make any more comments. Thank you.
Are you worried, President, with the security failing?
The president stopping short of calling this an assassination attempt, but noting that he plans to talk to Donald Trump and that his understanding is the former president is doing well. President Biden speaking out against the scourge of political violence, saying there's no room for this. And as we had reported a few moments ago, the Biden campaign moving to take down its advertising, a pause in its political advertising in the wake of this. We know that the president couldn't confirm, but we have confirmed that at least 2 spectators were shot, 1 killed, another who was in critical condition, and again, the shooter, who we don't know a lot about right now, is also deceased. Let me go back to Kristen Welker in our Washington, D.C. bureau. The White House getting out in front of this very quickly, Kristen.
Lester, they sure are, and President Biden condemning this in the strongest terms possible, which is what you would anticipate. He has long condemned political violence. He said this is unheard of. Everybody must condemn it. He did say he had tried to speak with the former president, whom he referred to as Donald. He also noted, Lester, that he is receiving thorough, robust briefings from his national security team, from his federal agencies, and that will undoubtedly continue throughout the night. The White House will undoubtedly need to keep the public informed throughout the night. It comes, as you point out, as they have pulled down and are working to pull down all of their ads, as the Trump campaign is in a media blackout. And it speaks to, Lester, the seriousness of this moment, the gravity of this moment, the fact that, quite frankly, something has just shifted in our American politics, in our country. This act of political violence, which, as the president said, cannot and will not be tolerated, and it does come as everyone is preparing to go to Milwaukee for the Republican National Convention, another event that will be met with heavy security. The perimeter there will be quite strong, quite large. Getting into the actual area where the convention is taking place will undoubtedly require going through magnetiles, making sure that no one is armed going into that event. But again, Lester, this just underscores, I think, that something fundamental has really shifted in our American politics.
Yeah, it's been, it's certainly, the threat has been talked about, but to see it play out on this scale is certainly horrifying. Kristen, thank you for that. We'll go back to you in a bit. Let's bring in our senior Washington correspondent, Hallie Jackson. You have a statement from Donald Trump Jr., the former president's son.
Yeah, via a spokesperson to our colleague Peter Nicholas, that listen, you heard President Biden say he tried to reach former President Trump on the phone. We know that the former president's son has spoken with him in a statement saying they just talked on the phone. But Donald Trump Jr. is saying that his dad is in great spirits, that he will never stop fighting to save America, no matter what in Donald Trump Jr.'s words, no matter what the radical left throws at him. So what we can glean from this, a couple of things, that former President Trump is, as his campaign says, fine. He is well enough to speak. He is well enough to be on the phone, at least with his immediate family members, at least with his son, Donald Trump Jr. We know that he is receiving medical treatment at a local facility with this rally happening, of course, in Butler, Pennsylvania. And we know that there has been a slew of reaction, as Kristen, as you, as others have talked about from both sides of the aisle here, strongly condemning political violence after this very difficult day in American politics. Lester, we'll keep you updated as we get more.
All right, Hallie, thank you. Kip Tom, former U.S. ambassador to the UN, was just a few yards from the former president when the shots rang out. Thank you for joining us, sir. Can you tell us what you saw?
Well, I was just with the president a few moments earlier before he came on stage, and everything seemed like a normal day. But when he walked down that red carpet and walked up to the podium, after he spoke for about 10 minutes, I was sitting in the front row in the runway, but all of a sudden these shots broke out, and I think there was people that actually thought it was possibly fireworks, but I seen the gun smoke, and obviously there was a person about 15 foot behind me that was hit. I think severely wounded at the least. But nonetheless, the crowd stayed pretty calm for the most part. And but you know, it sounded like there was 6-7 shots to start with, and then it seemed like there was a little pause, and then we heard a different caliber gun fired, which I assume is probably the Secret Service. But then I thought I heard another couple of rounds come off, but it felt like it was behind me. But it could have been the echo.
Did you hear did President Trump say anything?
No, he was just giving the typical rally speech that he typically does everywhere, you know, and trying to encourage voters to get out and vote, and talking about his plan for America.
But as the shots rang out, did he cry out? Did someone tell him to get down, or was that instinctive?
Yeah, we heard that. We heard everybody say get down, but I think he was already going down. That's when everybody thought at first maybe he had been hit more severely than he was. I mean, it's already severe. And let's face it, it hit his ear. It could have been a little bit closer. It could have been disastrous. But when he went down to the ground, then he got up. He put his fist up in the air or his hand up in the air, so we knew he was okay.
There are presumably, at least it appears to be, a lot of people in that crowd. By now you have heard that one spectator was killed and others critically wounded. Has it settled in how close a brush everybody in that arena or setting came tonight?
Yeah, you know, there's a lot. It was interesting listening to the people as they departed the scene, and you know what was going through my mind, and of course being a little older than many of those that were there, but I was recalling the Kennedy assassinations and some of the other attempts that were made during my lifetime, and I was recalling those and thinking about those, and then moving forward to where we're at today, and we still have a problem with this, so it's shocking, but most people are pretty upset. There's no question about it.
Understandably. Ambassador, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. We're glad you and yours are safe after this tonight. Retired ATF Special Agent Jim Cavanaugh is with me. By now, as you know, we've been reporting that the shooter in this case is deceased, presumably shot by law enforcement. I think the next question will be, is this a lone operative, the proverbial lone wolf, or is this part of some kind of conspiracy? Those are two different things. How will they begin to get, at least put the dots together?
Yeah, well, let's start with the deceased shooter, Lester, and identify him, and then, sweep his personal devices, phone, computer, etc., for, associates, confederates, and start interviewing around the circle around him. You've dug out a lot from the reporters and the witnesses since we last talked, and, it appears that maybe the shooter, it seemed like to me, watching the video closely, that the first shot or two is where the President Trump reacts.
Hey, Jim, let me just stop you for a second. I just received a new piece of information that I want to get your thoughts on. We're now, from a confirmed source, that the shooter was actually firing from outside the perimeter. That changes a lot in terms of the security posture of these things, doesn't it?
It does, but what's surprising to me is that a shooter could get in an elevated position at any kind of a Secret Service event, because the first thing that the service does is they get all the elevated positions, and they put their sniper teams up there and lookouts with binoculars and rifles. So it does seem from the witnesses that this was a distant shot now, that the reason the shot wasn't as loud, it was further off in the distance. And it looked like, watching the video, Lester, closely, that when the president turned his head to the right, the first shot or second shot, the first pop or two, is when he grabs his right ear. And then he, on his own volition, goes down, squats down. Now, he doesn't fall down, he just squats down. But you can see at that same moment that the spectators behind him are also hunching down as a normal reaction to gunfire. And then there's more rounds right after that. There's maybe another 5 rounds. And Dasha Burns had a witness that she just interviewed, and he talked about, he counted 7 rounds. And that was close. I don't know, you can't tell the exact number after this, that one very, very closely, but I mean, that sort of jives with what the witness said. So it looks like we had an assassin with a rifle outside the security perimeter. That's why you had mentioned earlier, magnetometers. Well, if you never breach the security perimeter, nobody checks you. And the first shot or second might have been the one intended to kill the former president, but it grazed his right ear.
Yeah, Jim, let me bring back, if I can, Avi Pomporis, a former Secret Service agent again. Avi, thank you for staying with us. I'd like to get your reaction to the fact this person was firing from outside the perimeter. That raises a lot of questions about how these areas are secured.
That's one of the most difficult things when you do outdoor sites. So when we spoke before, when you look at it this way, when you're in a closed environment, even if it's an arena, at least you're in a closed environment, I only have to worry about what's on the inside. When you do open rallies like this, right, you're outside, you have to worry about line of sight issues. Line of sight is a massive problem. Why is it a problem? Because somebody can be out in the distance and really engage your target from a long range, and there are weapons out there that allow you to do this. So even though, let's say you hunker this whole area down, you've got the magnetometers, you've got the tactical element, everything's locked and tight, how do you secure that outer perimeter? How far do you go? And can you cover everything? That's a problem. These are probably, of all the types of advances you can do, these are probably the least favorite among Secret Service agents, because you have the inability. And even if somebody is in an elevated position or not, how do you secure all those elevated positions when you have weapons with the capabilities that are able to shoot long distances? This is what you are up against.
Yeah, and you point about weapons that can shoot long distances. We tend to think of those as long guns, things that stand out certainly in a crowd, whether you're, no matter what side of the fence you're on. The fact that this person is at some distance was able to strike the former president, does that suggest some ability beyond the average gun user?
Well, that would be interesting to see, right? Because it's hard to speculate at this point. How far was that person? One of the things that lead me to think that this person was at a distance, when we hear the gunshot, it sounds very faint, very soft, right? It sounds like an echo. That's why so many people mistook it for fireworks. That's why a lot of people weren't sure it was a gunshot. So when you hear the shot like that, it does lead us to believe that it was at a distance, and that's why there's the confusion. I do want to say this, which is really interesting as I watch this. When you do security for these events, one of the greatest concerns are the people inside and stampede issues. And what I have to acknowledge is all these folks held steady and fast. We don't see people really losing it. We don't see people stampeding out, because it's not just the danger of the attacker, of what's going to happen. The danger a lot of times can come from within. So I really have to comment on everybody's ability to stay put, to not panic, and to allow the Secret Service, and also look at where that motorcade is. That vehicle where they exit him out, there's people all around, and you see everybody hold their position and allow the security team to evacuate.
Yeah, Abby, thank you for that. I should note, several years ago, working on a story for the Today Show, I went to the Secret Service training facility outside of Washington. They put me through a simulation in which I was the protectee, waving to a crowd when shots ring out, and the swiftness of these agents moving around me, getting me in the car and driving off was stunning, even though I knew it was going to come. So the training is obviously something they do. They prepare for these kind of moments. I'm sure there'll be a lot of soul searching about what happened in this case, but an impressive group of folks who put their lives on the line for these protectees on a daily basis. Evie, we'll get back to you in a few moments. I want to go back to NBC's Dasha Burns. She's outside that Trump rally. She was there when the shots rang out. We're obviously grateful. You and the rest of our team are fine, the other journalists, but we do recognize 2 spectators were hurt, 1 killed, another in critical condition. Dasha, you have had some pretty heart-wrenching interviews today. People saw a lot of things you can't unsee.
Yeah, Lester, that's absolutely right. People who came to a Trump rally, some of them for the first time, looking forward to seeing the former president. There was music playing, people selling merchandise, people eating food, people reuniting with friends here, not expecting anything like this. Let me just set the scene for you right now. We are in the parking lot outside of the venue. Sirkin, our cameraman, is going to show you. People are kind of in a traffic jam right now. This was a one-way in, one-way out kind of road situation. This is Butler County. It's a pretty rural county. Not a lot of big highways, not a lot of big roads. So people have been, I mean, this is now hours later, and many people still waiting to get out and still waiting and processing everything that they've experienced. I want to introduce you to Tracy, who is stuck in this traffic jam right now. Tracy and Tyler, they're high school friends. They were right there. And Tracy, we've been hearing some of these stories. Can you just walk us through what you saw?
Absolutely. President Trump was up there, you know, and then
Come on, get the fuck over here. Ooh. Yeah, stupid test over here. Oh boy. Looking at. Ooh. Oh boy. Oh man.
Thanks for helping me. Thank you for being on time, Joe.
Oh yeah.
Chevron, please, and then home.
Oh yeah.
Thank you. Joe, you're a very kind person. doing, Tate?